Where are we at? David's looking for a designer for the exchange platform, so I don't have to worry about that anymore. Podcast I can listen to later. Code. Okay, so yeah. So the objective this time around is two major things, right? And I'm kind of riding a high of confidence right now. I don't know why. But I'm feeling real good at the moment. That's why I need D&D on. So essentially, I want to start small, but I want to be consistent. I want to build. I had 2 interview calls today, one for Optum and one for another recruiting agency. They went well, which is good, but I feel that my resume is a little bit light. Even though it's like dense with good work, I feel like it's not punching the way I want it to punch, if that makes sense. So essentially, what I want to do is, while Jasmine's away in Togo, I want to pick 2 projects to complete in 2 weeks. If I code at them every day for the 7 days or whatever, I'll actually be able to complete it up, package it, run tests, whatever, and then deploy it. Pay to have it deployed. Now, am I really gonna deploy it and pay a lot of money? No. I'm gonna leverage free credits if I can. Otherwise, it is what it is. Yeah. So for the next hour, I'm gonna decide on a project to do, as well as a sort of, I don't want to say course, but a pathway for DSA study. We're back here again. Educative IO is just too expensive. $60 a month to have to sift through one article at a time. Like, it's just not. It didn't feel as impactful as I wanted it to, so I'm not doing that. But Code, I think, is mostly free, and I want to watch this video to see just how free it is. There's a free roadmap at NeetCode.io. Is this the roadmap? For real? Watch the video until it's gone.
I show you, make sure to like and subscribe. Never mind, let me just show you. It's sort of like a non-linear video game where you kind of have options of which order you want to complete each topic in. Except, of course, this is LeetCode, so it's definitely not going to be as fun. But the reason I made this is that I've kind of had a visual map of this in my head. I kind of know the relationship between these topics. Like, for example, linked lists are kind of your introduction to graphs, where you have nodes and edges, and then right after that you learn about trees. Most people will learn this in a computer science course. But there's definitely a lot of topics here you probably won't learn in class, things like tries, which naturally come after trees. But remember that trees also cover binary trees, and before you learn about binary trees, I think it makes sense to learn about binary search because it's kind of the same algorithm that you use binary trees for. I've been wanting to make this for a very long time, but I just finally had time during the holidays. It feels good to have a visualization for my thoughts, but I think also this will help a lot of people. Whether you're a beginner being introduced to these topics, the first topic is arrays and hashing. You don't really need to know a lot of data structures and algorithms to solve this topic. You just need to have programming knowledge about loops and conditionals, and of course basic data structures like arrays and hash maps, but you don't really need to know how they're implemented. And after that you learn more complicated things, but you do so in a very structured way. And if you're completely brand new to data structures and algorithms, you can always check out my courses and get lifetime access to them. We recently started adding articles to complement all of the video solutions. That's my short little plug. But moving on, I consider most of this map pretty objective. I think most people would agree that 2 pointers should come before binary search because binary search is sort of a specialization of 2 pointers. The same thing could be said about sliding window, and similarly linked list. A lot of these linked list problems require 2 pointers, so I think it makes sense to learn 2 pointers before that. And of course, trees should come before linked lists. It's a more complicated version of a linked list. And then right after trees, things get pretty open-ended. Like I said, we have tries, but we also have heaps, which are a specialization of binary trees. They are also a bit more complicated, I think. And we also have backtracking, which I think makes a lot of sense to learn after trees, because backtracking is essentially just a big decision tree. Like looking at one of these thumbnails, you can kind of see it here. Backtracking problems are naturally suited to trees, at least in terms of visualization. And then after backtracking, things get even more open-ended. We move on to graphs, which we already kind of learned about with trees and linked lists. And many graph problems require recursive backtracking, usually depth first search, so I think it makes sense to do it in this order. Also, we have one-dimensional dynamic programming. Dynamic programming is kind of a specialization of backtracking where you add caching, and then there's the true dynamic programming solution, which looks a bit more concise, something like this. And that usually doesn't involve recursion, but I still think learning backtracking and getting good at it before tackling dynamic programming will make it a lot easier.
I want more
And the
problems.
reason I have two-dimensional dynamic programming
sense.
after graphs, of course we have it after
this is
one-dimensional dynamic programming.
Let's solve this first.
Because two-dimensional dynamic programming problems typically involve graphs. I think unique paths is one that does involve like a two-dimensional graph. Longest increasing path in a matrix. You can imagine that's also going to be related to graphs. But we also have advanced graphs, which are kind of more academic related algorithms, things like Dijkstra's algorithm. With network delay time, you'll need Dijkstra's algorithm, and that algorithm also involves a heap. It's the shortest path algorithm, so it makes sense to have advanced graphs come after the heaps category. At this point, I'm sure you're starting to get an idea of what I'm talking about. All these topics are related to each other, and learning it in that way can kind of help you solve individual problems. If you couldn't solve a problem in one of these complicated categories, there might be a reason for it. It might be because you're lacking in one of the more simple categories. And it can be very difficult to figure that out, because as you're just going through a single big list,
I think that's what I was missing before. Was I didn't understand how they're related, and I thought they were actually entirely separate, and they're not. So this gives me hope that if I were to be able to connect arrays and hashing to two-pointer, and connect two-pointer to stack as well, like that feels good. Binary search, sliding window, linked list. I think that feels good to start with. I think everything after that is like more complicated than it needs to be, but definitely trees, definitely graphs, backtracking, dynamic programming. This covers this. Once you get past sliding window, it's pretty much mediums and hards from there, especially when it comes to graphs and DP. Like, it's just going to be
difficult what you're good at and what you're not good at, and what you might need to practice more on. And some of these, I will admit, are a bit opinionated. Things like intervals. Why would you need to learn intervals after you learn about heaps? Well, there's not necessarily a good reason, though interval problems typically require sorting, which is different from heap sorting. But the main reason I put this here after heaps is because, first of all, intervals are probably a bit less important than heap problems, but also because one of these problems does require a heap, but most of them don't. So you could, make an argument that some of this list could be a little bit different. You could say the same thing about these greedy problems. Definitely not all of these greedy problems will require a heap. I think most of them will not. But still, I think greedy problems are less important than heap problems. Then last couple ones, we have bit manipulation. Again, I put this after two-dimensional or one-dimensional dynamic programming because one of these I think does involve dynamic programming. But other than that, there's no reason that you should learn bit manipulation after dynamic programming. But I do think it's generally less important than dynamic programming, so it makes sense.
I mean, let's start with this roadmap. I think that's pretty much all we need right now, right? Is like just a way to say, okay, we're gonna start on a roadmap. Pick it out. I think this is good. This is actually in order, by the way. This is almost in order with the same thing that he put up. So that's kind of cool. I'm going to take a quick screenshot of this because I think he might make it paid later. So I'm going to get a screenshot of this as it is. And then I'm going to just start with like arrays and hashing tomorrow. If we go back real quick. These are the arrays and hashing problems. Unique email address, isomorphic strings, can place it. So and even within this, we can say like, this is in Java or Python. So they're in Python for me because it's LeetCode. Okay, that's fine. And we're gonna type our solutions, by the way, because typing is good. Okay. Yeah. Now, I kind of want to combine this with Pirate King because the pirate. Nope. What is it? Pirate King? Yeah, Pirate Kingdom. He's another YouTuber that posts the same thing. Leak code, cheat sheet templates, trick study guide. Got ads. Fuck those ads. We can kind of see like BFS, DFS, recursion, Dijkstra's, binary search 2.0, just like in leak code or neat code. The thing about neat code is that he works at Google, and Pirate King, I think, used to work at Google. I'm not sure why he left, but he wants to do his own thing. So this is the cheat sheet. The study guide says go with strings first, then 2.0, then sliding window binary search. So I think I like strings already. I think starting with something that I know I could do is like important to me, and then solving it there is important. So, but this is a lot of string problems, right? This is kind of, I don't know. It feels kind of random. It feels like, okay, I'm picking out some problems here, and you know what I'm saying? It doesn't really feel like strings. If I go to problems in general, and we look up like easy string problems, so string, easy, and you do like that. Did I say strings easy? Why is there a medium problem coming up? What's this? What is its status? Anyway. Yeah, so I'm looking for basically an easy there's premium challenges. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, easy string problems are here. So I just start with like easy string problems. So his tactic was to start with easy string problems until you get an itch. And the itch, if you ever see a problem before, is like the itch is like you already have an idea of how to solve it without really knowing what's going on. So you ask questions to get details that then give you more information. And then from there you can say, okay, I understand how to solve that problem. So until I know exactly how string stuff works, especially when it comes to Python, I think I'm better off starting there. So I think I'm gonna start here with easy string problems, and then until I get a tick. That's it. So tomorrow we're gonna solve 3 at the least. That's 30 minutes per problem. I'll record a session, and that's that on that. I made a wiki for, I say engineering. Really, I should say software development. Software engineering wiki. So the first one is common recruiter questions. Things I got asked today was tell me about yourself. Tell me about why you're in the job market. Tell me about what you're currently working on. 3 questions I got asked today. I'm gonna keep track of them as I go on in the process. What else is in the wiki? This stuff came in the template. I'm probably not gonna keep some of this stuff. And this is a wiki for like a specific project. Yeah. Okay. What is this? It's mad funny. Yeah. So I mean, I think it's a grid on its own. We can just put like things in here. So I'm gonna create a wiki for just like all things tech. There's tabs now. I didn't know that. There's very much tabs. But I think I was high priority. All right. So task for tomorrow, and I'll put this in my journal tomorrow too. But I said solve, 3 easy leak code. I'll say 3 easy string problems. This is due by tomorrow. It's in to-do category, high priority. Lower priority. I'll say pick. No, I'm picking tonight, so I'll just say design. Design 7-day project. This will be tomorrow as well. What we need to do. high priority to get done. What else can I do tomorrow? I need to work out tomorrow. That's not a tech task though. What else can I do? Is that it? All things tech, that's pretty much it. Yeah. I also take a look at GitHub and clean up. This will be due by the end of the weekend, and it'll be a lower priority, like medium priority. This is kind of low. I know it's not vital. I don't think it's vital right now, given the holiday and end of year transition. I don't think it's vital. All right, what else? Is that it? I haven't learned about autosys yet either. Do you want to? Not really. I have no due date for it. I don't know. Is that it? I think that's it. Okay, cool. So this is going to be our starting point. You can also do like high frequency. Roman to integer, valid parentheses. And there's a lot of them too. So until you get that itch, just keep doing them. Get 30 minutes. Basically, you want to see as many as you can. But having a good list is like important, I think. These curated lists, I don't like them because I think they're leaving stuff out. I think they're like, this guy's picking things from a list that he thought was good, but like, I don't know. I'm not him. He's not me. I might need more from that. So I'm not gonna buy his thing, but I will at least say, okay, take a look. Yeah, and I would don't solve all the legal problems. Solve the most important ones, right? So you can even do by frequency. Like, do you show up where? Where am I at? Like these problems show up, a lot. 99.48%. And two sum doesn't. It was two sum. Two sum ain't on this list, bro. Two sum's not a string problem though. Valid anagram. Yeah, these are problems you need to know how to solve. So we'll get to it, man. We'll get to it. Let's get that sys design book out and pick one. Hopefully one that's easy and it can take a week. Hopefully, if I pick one that takes less than a week, I have to pick another one. Or I do a second one. I think. Okay, this is it. Sys design interview. It's got a bunch of illustrations on system design and stuff like that. So I actually want to build one of these. So there's two or three intro sections. So there's scale from 0 to millions, back of the envelope estimations when it comes to data storage, rate limiting, requests per second, stuff like that. I need to reread that later too. But anyway, I want to design one of the systems from here. But I think let's ask, experiment. So I asked ChatGPT the other day about it. Can I get wow, for real? Wait, what? Can I try this, please? Okay. I have an account, right? I can't even log in. What link was that? There we go. I'll probably use this email. I probably use GitHub, by the way. Did I use GitHub? What did I even sign up? This can't be real, right? Go to my desktop, because what the fuck? what? What the frick? What the frick? What the frick? What the frick? Where's my account? Okay, I don't have an account then. Google. Oh, weird. Okay, no. Yeah. That's so crazy. It's my Google account. I thought I would use something more professional, but sorry. Google, please. Yeah. Okay. So I was asking questions about mid-level design projects. I mean, so this is a good conversation between like easy to build, something easy to build, but also something that like I learned something new from. So if I go back to one of my first journal entries, it was actually a engineering notes. It was an engineering notes entry where I had a bunch of technology I wanted to learn with. So microservices, REST API, third-party products, think reusable code, those topics. What else? SDLC, rapid prototyping and deployments, code testing, scalability, ETL, the event-driven architecture. Can I build a shopping site in a week? Can I build an e-commerce store? I mean, yeah, you can put fake products on a page and, click enter. And then if I hit purchase, which it won't actually purchase, can I get an email sent out asynchronously? Okay. Is that going to work? Yeah, I think so. I mean, so if you're designing these systems, right? If we look at what they have in the book. So right now, e-commerce store is like the project we're going to build in a week. Okay. And you can do authenticate. And the whole stack is authentication. It's, database. It's order table. How do you store that kind of stuff? It's probably SQL. Right. And stuff like that. So what about the rate limiter? How do you design a rate limiter? Well, rate limiters, are not really a thing you want to design. So line 53 is a rate limiter, but you wouldn't want to design an actual rate limiter. So maybe you want to do a unique ID generator, but even then you wouldn't really design that. It's not something you build. So designing a URL shortener, 121, which I've heard actually isn't that bad. Let's see. Yeah. So 100 million URLs are generated per day. It's as short as possible. So let's see. The left, open-ended. To design a well-crafted system, it's critical to ask clarification questions. So we have a long URL with a bunch of stuff in it. An alias for a short URL. If you click the alias, it redirects you to the original URL. 100 million URLs generated per day, as short as possible. What characters are allowed in the short URL? Okay. It's 1160 operations per second. At 10 to 1 per second. So let's say for every one is created, we have 10 that's actually accessed. So we 11,000 signature requests per second. So when the URL shortener device will run for 10 years, this means its support runs 365 billion records. Assume the average length is 100, it'd be 365 terabytes. Oh my god. It's insane. Yeah, how'd you store this? Probably in a Redis. What do I say? I say Redis. It's a key value store. It lends itself as a key value store, but the shortening function is a shortening function. It's an ID with a short and a long URL. Hash and collisions. I don't know. I'm also barely reading this, but okay. Yeah, this is not the system to build. So I'm e-commerce store still in the air right now. Otherwise, there's web crawler, a web crawler, a notification system, a notification system. Like, if you want to send out notifications to people, it depends on the use case, right? Because you can come up with one um, where it's like we send newsletters out on a monthly basis. So we've got some code that will, in batches, fetch emails and then send out asynchronously each request to each email. And we've got the what's it called? We've got the memo or the newsletter created somewhere. We're gonna send that in the email to a bunch of users. I mean, that's okay. I don't know. It's not really. But an e-commerce store is an e-commerce store, though. And if I designed an e-commerce store, I say design, but so this is. I mean, it's building a web application API. Okay, yeah, makes sense. A feature, building a game. I mean, I'm passionate about game, but it's like, oops. Let's see. Let's see. Best side project. I'll say, what are the best side projects for API developers? What does ChatGPT think? I mean, building an API, duh. Improving an existing API, duh. Yeah, it's not a much different question, right? Building an API gateway. Building a gateway? Consider what skills you would like to improve upon, and then choose a project that aligns those goals. What skills do I lack? One of the common ones is microservices, which is normally reserved for, large teams. That's what it's reserved for larger teams working on several things at once. So building microservices by yourself, possible, not always necessary, but should know how to do. So if we build our own e-commerce store for fun, right? We learn how to build the React front end, hosting items. If we're getting hit for many things at once, cache that, right? But I mean, it's hard to see the effects of your work unless you're actually like having that many users. We can set up a script that also hits the API every once in a while, and we can tinker for that. Is that a week's worth of work though? Can I really build that in a week? I said, well, if you got the items, you got the images, you probably store them in S3. Then you embed the S3 link in a database. Yeah. It's an endpoint for loading images, right? If it's like, for example, I cannot fall asleep. It's only 9:30. My girlfriend's traveling to Togo right now, so I'm home. I said home. Oh yeah, I'm home by myself. Not that she lives here, but I'm usually hanging out with her all the time. So I gotta take this free time seriously. E-commerce store. notifications. It'd be a chance to build like some kind of CDN. It'd be a chance to also work with Next.js. But Next.js, you can also interact with databases directly with Next.js. So you wouldn't have to hit an API. Or you wouldn't need an API directly. You could also use database queries directly, but that's also like, in any company, would you really leverage direct database access? I mean, if tested it, I'm not against that at all. I think it's not conventional, right? Like, how often is your Next.js application touching your database? How often is your React code touching your database? Not very often, right? So I mean, technology. What do you want to use to build it? Well, let's talk about the current project, right? Let's get the wiki put together and see how it's gonna work. So, wiki, lifecycle, code reviews. This is like, it could be like notes, a directory. Oh, okay, whatever. What exactly? This is a heading with a line and then just. Oh, what is this in between? Kind of line we just put in there. Cool. Is there a line I can put in here? Oh, columns. Okay. Anyway. So yeah, this is project, I guess, project 1. Not super crazy. Project 1 titled E. Now, if you think about system design for an e-commerce store, which is crazy because that might be one of the ones they have in here. They don't have that in here. Wow. That's crazy. There are many tutorials for e-commerce stores, and normally they're like full stack Python apps where you use like templates, Python as a backend like Django, and then you use SQL Alchemy as an ORM for database access. But I want to use different technologies and learn how to use them better. So, like Redis. Redis is an in-memory data store and cache. So I'd love to leverage Redis for things like, I don't know. What would you want to cache at Redis? I don't know what to cache at Redis. I should look up projects related to like caching. It's kind of weird. What does Chat GPT think? That use microservices. Microservices. Yeah, I'm right. Okay, it's not helpful. It's not helpful at all. I would need a good microservices project. I mean, e-commerce store is built out of how many components, right? You've got the front end. If you launch it, you got a load balancer. You're gonna, return back like. Let me see. Oh my God, I'm tired. So if we do scale it out, right, you've got the client hitting some front end to get the store site. It'd be a good chance to use like Next.js. Now, why would you use Next.js, right? Well, you want to do a full stack, type safe type script project, you want to leverage other services like a discovery service, but I mean it's only going to be one front end, one back end, so discovery is kind of weird at that point. So we say something like the front end is the actual store, right? So we'll say front end, and then we'll say back end, because we need some kind of data store, right? But we can use Next.js to talk to the database directly. If we want to pull information, adding information is a different story. So for example, if a user wants to set up like a cart, we probably have a cache for that, which then can get migrated over to a data store, and we can leverage. I don't know, that something like that could work too. Yeah, I mean, but extending it is how you make it better, make it bigger. So let's start with just an e-commerce store. Oh, well, let's talk about basic functionality, right? We'll say browse items on the page. We can say browse items. I'm trying to think about, should I use a new framework like Vue? Should I use Vue? I don't think I should use Vue. I don't know. I mean, plus Vercel has free hosting, so that could be fun. You can browse items, add to cart. I spelled cart completely wrong there. Browse items, add to cart. What else? What can we do? I'll just say auth. Probably Google. Leverage a Google authentication scheme. Nothing else. Nothing else. Pretty much it. Like on Amazon, you can browse things without being logged in, which is good for search engine optimization. And authentication needed. We need information. We need information when you check out. The front end. I'm not a front end dev, so I don't want to spend time like. I don't want to spend too much time in a front end application. Right? Not being a front end dev, I don't want to spend more time developing React code and debugging React code and testing React code than building the endpoints, proficient endpoints, efficient code in the back end. Like, I feel like that's what I want to spend more time on. So I'm trying to avoid, I want to build projects that allow me to focus on the API, focus on the services, like a notification system. I don't need a whole product to build notifications, right? I don't need a whole product. I just need to like set up a single server or whatever, or create a condition for notification to be sent, and then I get an email, or I get like, that's how you do it, right? I guess, I don't know. It's not that complicated, but if you want to build a full like project, the e-commerce store is not one we're not gonna complete that in a week. That's a lot of code. It's a lot of things to write. If I really break it down, though, I mean, you got the front page, list of items. You can use Tailwind for cards and color schemes if you want. It's a lot of code, I know. Extending it over time would be easier. I think for a week-long project, I think the e-commerce store is just too big. Is there anything in my life right now that I need to improve? Notifications, maybe, that don't already exist. I mean, they may already exist, but like, if I want to build a service, what would you build? Maybe I need a relaxation API that could teach me about, not teach me, but remind me when to relax. Like if I've been working for too long, is that a week-long project? Well, I don't know. Okay, I just had a weird idea, but let's do it. What if I had an idea? What if I could remind myself or suggest to work towards my goals? Like, for example, but it's coded to me. So I have a goal right now of saving some money, and I also have a goal of relaxing, I also have a goal of studying for interviews. So I have 3 major goals of maintaining energy by relaxing and doing things that are fun, like gaming or watching Netflix. I have a second goal of saving money and a third goal of studying. What if I created an application or a service that would remind me specifically to my phone, to my email, and even to my MacBook, maybe even to my desktop, that basically would find a way to remind me? So for example, if I said something like, let's say for example, the software understands that on my desktop machine, let's say I haven't opened up any list of games in a while. It might tell me today is this day, you haven't gamed yet, set some time aside to game, right? So there's one for like, I say gaming, but Netflix, whatever. So track, also we'll say tracking goals, and then we'll say if goals not met by, I'll say, which is a reminder notification, either email, text. Twilio costs money though, and I think you can get free text though. And then what else? A notification, email, text. Okay. I'll even write here like email, text, and we'll say phone. Okay. So if goals not, so the idea is to create a note. It's a reminder for goals specifically. So if my goals change, right? How do we extend the app? That we'll figure out later. But it's a week-long goal because we just need software to track systems and then send out notification emails. Those are 2 parts. So we need tracking software as a box, a notification software. So tracking, and I'll say notifications. Those are 2 main. And the front end, will it be a front end? No, I need to avoid front ends at all costs. Not at all costs, but I mean the goal is to be sort of full stack. So I shouldn't run away from it, but I shouldn't also focus a lot. I shouldn't focus too much on like the front end. The front end can come later. Focusing on too much on front end now could just derail the back end work. If that makes sense. Okay. So I picked a project. It's a goal tracking system. So essentially I'm going to code the app or the service to track if I've gamed in a while, if I haven't. I mean, I need to put a certain amount of time into gaming, right? So I know for a fact that I need to game for, a couple hours. My bedtime is 10 o'clock and it's 7 o'clock. I might get a reminder to go play some games. Or if, for example, if I am supposed to study and I haven't opened up LeetCode all day, notification to open up LeetCode and do some studying. We'll do requirements gathering tomorrow and see how viable this is. If it's not viable at all, then we'll just scrap it and do something else. But that's it. That's all I got. I'll be back tomorrow, I guess. Yeah. Damn.